Welcome to all my dear students. This is Dr. Sheikh Sarfaraz from our Sri Chaitanya College, and I hope you have written your examinations very well and you are awaited for your results. So dear students, you have written your paper 1 and paper 2 of your advanced examination, right? So paper 1 obviously I think you have seen, and paper 2 also. So in this session I am going to discuss with you the chemistry part solutions of your paper 2. Okay, so let us continue the discussion without wasting further time. If you see question number 1, it is very interesting question. Directly, if you can see, answer is already available here. Okay, so he is saying that the first, second and third ionization enthalpies I1, I2 and I3 of 4 atoms with atomic number n, n plus 1, n plus 2, n plus 3 respectively are given tabulated in the beaker. See dear students, you can solve this problem by two methods. One method, what you can do is directly you see the values. So when you see ionization energy 1, 2, 3 and 4 values, you can see the highest is coming 2081 here, and since he is saying n is less than 10, so less than 10 you take the values. That means a very simple and common sense we know from a periodic table that any given series highest ionization energy is exhibited by inert gas. That means, can I call this should be a inert gas? Can I call it as inert gas? Yes, I can guess it. Now below, if then what can be the value of n? Obviously n can be either 1 or n can be either 9. Why? Because 1 plus 1 is 2 helium or 9 plus 1 is neon, right? So if you take 1, what will happen? What is the drawback? What will happen? If you take 1, what will happen? Here if you come 1 plus 3 is 4, and that is 4 is what? Beryllium, and beryllium you can see it is showing low ionization energy, and we know that beryllium is exception in 2A and it will not show so low ionization energy values. Hence the leftover is n is equal to 9. So if n is equal to 9, okay, following, then if n is equal to 9, then tell me, if n is equal to 9, then n plus 1 is what? 10, and n plus 2 is 11, and n plus 3 is nothing but your 12. That means this is fluorine, this is neon, this is sodium, and this is magnesium. This is the one way. Another way of doing is, another style of approach is, okay, therefore n value got off, no need to discuss, n value is 9, right? Okay, so now another style of approach here is, if you see the second ionization energies, you can see second ionization energy values if you see, or third ionization energy values, if in the second ionization energy who is having the highest value, all of you tell me. Here you can see second ion. So whenever ionization energy will suddenly go up, we know that it is touching inert gas. So this is also supporting whom? That means in outermost it is having only 1 electrons. Hence by these two methods we can say the value is n value is here equal to 9 here. Okay, so this is the two simple ways by which you can do. Further, if you can go, you can see that for magnesium after 2 electrons your proof is coming here obviously. Okay, you can proceed further. Okay, now we will go for our next question. So in our next question, everybody can say, consider the following compounds in liquid form: oxygen, HF, H2O, ammonia compounds are given. When a charged comb is brought near the flowing stream, how many of them show deflection as per the following figure? So all of you can see this is an ordinary comb, and in comb we know that, okay, there is no magnetic properties in a comb. Are you following? Okay, it has electric property, that is charge property, and we know that indirectly we can solve this by, so if it is deflecting, that means whatever compound you are taking over here, whatever compound you are taking, it must carry what? Tell me all of you all. Charge. It must carry charge. Or in another way, I can, if I want to say in another way, I can say that its dipole moment also we can consider. Dipole moment also we can consider. Okay. Now coming to the charge, so everybody can see HF is charged, correct? H2O, NH3, H2O2, and here CHCl3, and here C6H5Cl. Okay. So you can answer this by two ways, either by charge or you can go for dipole moment. So everybody can say dipole moment for oxygen, CCl4 and benzene is equal to what? 0. That is another way of approach. However, by both the ways you can see these 6 compounds are deflected according to the given figure, right. Now we will go for the next question. So now all of you all, let us have a look to the third question. In the chemical reaction between stoichiometric quantities of KMnO4 and Ki in weakly basic medium or basic solution, what is the number of moles of iodine released for 4 moles of KMnO4 consumed? Now dear students, here two type of thoughts will come. So some students will think like this, what is that, tell me? They will think that potassium iodide will react with KMnO4 in which medium? Basic medium, and it converts mainly into what? KiO3, the respective iodides, and they will say where is iodine formed here? So answer is 0, they will say. Okay, that is one way of thinking, but since he is saying that number of moles of iodine released, are you following? Getting? So let us assume that, so remember in this course of reaction the intermediate is iodine, directly you will not get it. So Ki will release iodine, that iodine will further react with KMnO4 and become KiO4. This is actually the way. Okay. So assuming that iodine is released in intermediate or final, then what we will do? So let us solve this problem assuming that iodine is lost. Then what is the reaction here? Tell me in weakly basic medium. KMnO4 is converted into what? Tell me, MnO2. Right. So here you can see 4 oxygens, here 2 oxygens. So I will put here 2 H2O, oxygen got balanced. The charge on manganese is -1, no need to say, MnO4 magnet ion, permanganate ion. And here 2 hydrogens are there, so here you can write 4H plus. So 4H plus and -1, to encounter the charge I will write here 3 electrons. This becomes equation 1. Then what about iodine? So iodine I minus is getting converted into what element of fuel? I2. For balancing you can write here 2, and here what is released? 2 electrons are released here, right. Now we know that to cancel out the electrons you can multiply this by 2 and this you can multiply by 3, yes or no? 2 3s are 6 and 3 2s are 6, electrons are cancelled out. After you cancel out, if you write the net reaction, what are you going to get? So you are going to get 2 KMnO4, I think no need to explain further, but still 2 KMnO4 plus 6I minus 1 give rise to 2 MnO2 plus 2 H2O plus how much iodine is released? 3 iodine is released. So assuming that 4 moles of KMnO4 is there here, so 2 KMnO4 is releasing 3 moles of iodine, so 4 will release how much? Answer is 6. So remember, this is slightly very microscopically ambiguity type of question. If no iodine is formed, if you assume iodine is formed in the intermediate, but if no iodine is formed is assumed, answer is 0. But since he is saying iodine is released, so considering it, the answer is, what is the answer for this? Tell me, 6. 2 can release 3, 4 can release 6 moles of iodine. Okay. Now let us move to the next question. An acidified, this is very famous question, man, this is very famous question. I think in your college, in your weekends, several times you have written this problem, and if you are a good student and you have basically prepared also, then you will get the answer here just from one word. What is the element of your blue color compound? If you see this keyword, okay, potassium dichromate, are you following? Potassium dichromate H2O2 and blue color over. You know that potassium dichromate reacts with hydrogen peroxide K2Cr2O7, very famous reaction. It forms CrO5, chromium peroxide, and we know that chromium peroxide has a beautiful what structure? Butterfly structure we assume. Do you remember? And the oxidation state of this is what? +6. Okay, right. So now tell me what the question is asking to us. Formation of chromium 6. Okay, already we have written chromium 6 here. What is the number of oxygen atom bonded to chromium through only single bonds? Directly answer is available on the board to you. Answer is what, tell me? 4. But just as an additional point I would like to say you, some students will be asking me a question here. What? Sir, why are we using amyl alcohol? Are you following? Why are we using amyl alcohol? It is confusing us. See, amyl alcohol here is, what is amyl alcohol? Pentyl alcohol. N-pentyl alcohol is also called amyl alcohol. It will also react in the reaction. It gets converted into what? Carboxylic acid. And hence, and we already know that potassium dichromate generally reacts in what medium? Acidic medium. So, alcohol is acting like a solvent also here, as well as it is supplying H plus ions also here. That is why we are using amyl alcohol here. Now, let us have a look to the next question. He is saying that a structure of peptide is given below. You know peptides are formed from amino acids, and for general knowledge purpose, that is tyrosine. Okay. Okay. Now, coming further, he is giving 3 pH, pH 2, pH 6 and pH 11. At these pHs, he is saying that there are 3 different charges Z1, Z2, Z3. He is asking some of them. So, that is why what shall we do? Let us find the charges separately fast. So, at pH equal to 2, what will happen, tell me? Everybody know that NH2 group is there, it will accept the proton. Are you following? And this will become what? NH3 plus. Got it? Here you can say this NH2 and this NH2. So, this is getting converted into what? NH3 plus. Therefore, total how many are there? 2 are there. Hence Z1 will be equal to what? 2. Got it? Now, moving to pH is equal to 6. So, at pH equal to 6, we know that carboxylic acids are considered as strong organic acids. So, we are having 2 carboxylic acids here 1, here 2. So, 2 carboxylic acids, they will become 2CO minus 1. Are you following? So, at this charge what will happen to the amino group? The 2 NH2 group which are present on the in the compound, they will still remain as what? 2 NH3 plus. In amino acid we study isoelectronic point, and we know that isoelectronic point is a very important factor. Therefore, 2 negatives are there, 2 positives are there. So, therefore, Z2 the net charge will be equal to what? 0. Now, coming to Z3, pH is equal to how much is saying next one? 11. So, when pH is equal to 11, we know that it is a very high basic pH, very highly basic, and we know that when it is highly basic, carboxylic acids are strong acids. So, strong acids will react with in highly basic medium, the 2 carboxylic acids ion COH will get converted to what? COO minus. Are you following? And this NH3 plus will lose their proton. Why? Because from the base OH minus will take the proton and lose water. And no doubt the next step which you will forget actually is what? This phenolic OH also gets converted to what? Phenoxide ion. That means this OH from the phenolic also will get converted to what? Phenoxide ion. So, therefore, Z3 is equal to how much, tell me all of you all? 3. No need to say what is the sum of Z1 plus Z2 plus Z3, right? Now, we will go for our next question. An organic compound C8H10O2 rotates plane polarized light. It produces pink color with neutral FeCl3. What is the total number of all possible isomers for this compound? Dear students, generally what will happen when you think about FeCl3, in your mind 2 things will come. Some students will think about phenol. Are you following? And some students will think about carboxylic acid. Carboxylic acids. I would like to say you, phenols if you treat with neutral FeCl3, they will give either violet color, either blue color. If it is naphthals, that is bicyclic rings, are you following? It will give you green color. And if it is hydroxy type of phenols, it will also give pink color. But carboxylic acids when you treat with FeCl3, it will give you buff color. Buff color is nothing but in our local language we can call cream color, or we can call dirty orange grey. You can have a net check on Google, you will get an idea about the buff color. Okay. Okay. Now, he is saying that the organic compound can rotate plane polarized light. So, from this we got an idea what is present in the compound. In the compound, chiral carbon is there, that is point number 1. Produces pink color with neutral FeCl3, that means it is, if from this we can say it is having phenolic OH. This is point number 2. What is the total number of possible isomers for this? So, satisfying this we can write. So, you can see if I write phenolic OH, 6 carbons came off in the ring. How many are left over? 8. 8 are there, from 8 6 has gone. How many are left over? 2. So, can I take 2 carbons outside? Here. Now, you will say, sir, why did you write OH here? Because to make it what? Chiral in nature. Now, if I take another possible isomer of it, keeping the chiral carbon constant, I will try to move the OH. Keeping the chiral carbon constant, I will try to write OH. Got it? So, considering these factors, everybody can see how many isomers are there? 3, but each can show DL, yes or no, or RS. So, this you can count as 2, this you can count as 2, this you can count as 2. So, total the sum of 2 to 2 is nothing but 6. So, now all of you let us have a look to the next question. In an experiment, m grams of compound X gas, liquid or solid is taken in a container, is loaded in a balance as shown in the figure 1. In the presence of magnetic field, the pan with X is either deflected upwards or deflected downwards. Are you following? So, based upon, depending upon the compound X, identify correct statements. So, here you can see that there is no deflection, correct, because there is no magnetic field. As soon as you kept magnetic field, everybody can see that this pan is going upwards. Obviously, he showed the arrow to you there also. That means what here, what is there, attraction is there or repulsion is there? Here it is repelling. Since it is repelling here, what is the meaning of it? Then this compound X must be what in nature, tell me all of you all? It must be diamagnetic in nature. Now, here you can see the pan is coming downward. Downward means what? It is getting attracted by the magnetic field. If it is getting attracted by the magnetic field, then what is the meaning? The compound is what in nature? Paramagnetic in nature. So, nothing but indirectly we have to find out diamagnetic and paramagnetic nature. Now, let us see the questions. If X is water, liquid form, deflection of the pan is upwards. Yes, correct, of course. Why? Because water is a diamagnetic substance. It does not have any unpaired electrons. We know from its hybridization sp3 also, and from its bonding also you can see no unpaired electrons are left over, correct. Okay, because water is what in nature? Diamagnetic in nature. If you want, I can write separately here. Water is considered as what here? Diamagnetic. Second one, if X is K for FeCN taken 6 times, deflection of the pan is upwards. Yes, this is also correct. Now, here some students will have objection, sir, I did not understood, or some different objection will be there, or you will say like this also, what? There is +2 oxidation state of iron here. So, +2 means you will say, sir, in D unpaired electrons are left over. No, remember that cyanide is nothing but regarded as what? Strong field ligand. Yes or no? Strong field ligand. So, since it is a strong field ligand, what will happen is all the D electrons are pushed against Hund's rule, hence unpaired electrons are not left over. So, hence second one is correct. C, if X is oxygen, deflection of pan is downwards. Yes, we studied in molecular orbital theory that oxygen is a paramagnetic substance, correct. If X is benzene, deflection of the pan is downward. No, this is wrong, because benzene is diamagnetic compound. Benzene is a diamagnetic compound. Is downward is saying no, it is wrong. Good. Therefore, answer is what? Tell me all of you here. A, B, and C is the answer here. Right. Now, let us have a look to our next question. Which of the following plots are correct for the given reaction? P naught is the initial concentration of P. Right. Very easy question this is. Everybody can see this question. This is tertiary alkyl halides. Tertiary alkyl halides, when they react with NaOH, you can see very clearly this question is nothing but what? SN1 reaction. stable carbocation intermediate, nucleophile. Therefore, this is which reaction? First order reaction. So, first important point we got that this is a first order reaction. That is point number 1. Point number 2, if it is first order reaction, then we know that P naught must be independent of half life. P naught must be independent of T half, that is half life, correct. So, let us see the graphs. So, here you can see T half and P naught, a constant graph is going. So, is this correct? Yes, of course this is correct. Next, initial rate and P naught is showing constant. No, no, first order reaction depends upon what? Initial concentration. Depends on initial concentration. Therefore, graph 2 is what? Wrong. Then this plot if you draw Q by concentration of P naught, you know you will get, you will not get this type of graph, you will get a opposite type of graph, something like this. So, this is also again wrong, and ln also if we take, this also will you are going to get wrong. Okay. Why? 1 minus e to the power minus kt, you can take it. Okay. So, therefore, your answer is A. Though this is a multiple choice of paper, only one option is correct. Okay. Question number 9 we will see. Which of the following statements are true for the extraction of aluminum from bauxite? We know that bauxite is purified by different processes like Bayer process, Serpex process, Hall-Heroult process, etc. This is pretty good, easy question. So, let us have a look. Hydrated Al2O3 precipitates when? Okay, carbon dioxide is bubbled through a solution of sodium aluminate. So, let us see the question. Yeah, it is correct. So, what is sodium aluminate? This is sodium aluminate. And when you pass, what is the intention to pass carbon dioxide in aqueous medium? To remove the basic impurities, because carbon dioxide is acidic gas. So, when you remove basic impurities, yes, obviously you will get what? Again you will get the bauxite ore plus X number of water molecules, and the basic impurities are removed in the form of carbonates. So, this is correct. Now, addition of Na3AlF6 lowers the melting point of alumina. It is a direct question. Cryolite, a mixture of Na3AlF6 and sodium salts. Same thing we do in extraction of magnesium, we add potassium chloride and magnesium chloride to decrease the melting point and to increase the conductivity of the solution. Next, carbon dioxide is evolved at anode during electrolysis. Direct question. The cathode is steel vessel with lining of carbon. Not even in this process, if you see all extractions of your first year syllabus, everywhere steel is used as cathode only. Okay, right. Now let us move to our next question. Choose the correct statements among the following. Again from inorganic. Tin chloride SnCl2 plus SnCl2.2H2 is reducing agent. It is very easy. In option A you can see tin is in which oxidation state? +2 oxidation state. Obviously, since it is in +2 oxidation state, it can get converted to what? Sn+2, and it can release 2 electron, and these 2 electrons can be donated to any atom, ion or element, and it can act as reducing agent. Hence, A is correct. B, SnO2, I think SnO2 is amphoteric in nature. Okay. So, hence reacts with KOH to form K2SnO6. Obviously, since it is amphoteric in nature, it can react with KOH and form complexes. We know that wherever vacant d orbitals are available, they will always form complex only. A solution PbCl2 in HCl contains Pb+2 and Cl- ions. Absolutely wrong. Why? What is the reason for it? The reason for it is, if you take PbCl2, that is lead chloride, to that if you add HCl. So, everybody little bit go to slightly try to focus towards coordination compounds. Due to the availability of vacant d orbitals, this chloride ions will be acting like a ligand, and they will start donating the electrons to it, and here a complex will form, that is PbCl4 to the power -2. Hence, there is no chloride ions freely available, all will get connected to the Pb+2 ion. Hence, this is wrong. Next, the reaction between Pb3, this is called triplumbic oxide. I think this is also called Sindhura in local languages. Okay, the reaction of Pb3O4 with hot dilute nitric acid gives PbO2 is a redox reaction. If you know what is Pb3O4, you can say directly it is wrong. How? Because Pb3O4 is nothing but it is a mixed oxide. It contains PbO and PbO2. That is, you contain lead in +2 as well as in +4 oxidation state. So therefore, once it reacts, how same compound will come? That is point number 1. There is a one trick to catch. And another thing, since it carries +2 ions, +4 ions cannot further undergo oxidation. Correct? Okay, because nitric acid is oxidizing agent. So +2 will react with nitric acid and they become lead nitrate. Hence, there is no redox reaction or something like that. Hence, this is wrong. So the answer becomes, what is correct here now? Tell me. Here A and B only goes right. Now moving to our next question. Question number 11, which has appeared from organic chemistry. He gave 4 compounds and he is speaking about basicity. Now before solving ABCD, we should know the compounds, then we can solve ABCD very easily and comfortably. So let us go for the first example, A. Now first of all, tell me in first compound, I will try to take separately here, the first compound which is shown there, it is aniline and the lone pairs are busy in what? Resonance. So resonance is, everybody should know, inversely proportional to what? Basicity. And hence in one resonance is present. Second one. In second one, it is a tertiary amine, electron density is there. Are you following? Resonance is there? Yes. Second one is a tertiary amine, and does it have resonance? R effect? Yes. I am not giving you direct answer, let us investigate the 4. Then if you go to the third compound, here you can see minus I effect is there, yes or no? Along with resonance you can see minus I effect is there. Due to minus I effect, we know that basicity decreases. So minus I effect is also inversely proportional to what? Basicity. So 3 is having 2 negative factors, resonance is also there, minus I effect is also there. So it is a poor base, okay. But how much it is, we will measure it. Fourth one, if you see here the group which is present, I think I hope this is typing mistake, I think, okay, because your nitrogen should come, because if nitrogen is not there, how can we, I think typing error, okay. So your nitrogen must come, okay, no problem. So everybody can see these nitro groups and these methyl groups all will come in one plane and they undergo what element of fuel? Repulsion. When they undergo repulsion, then what happens? Due to repulsion, then the nitrogen will go out of what? Plane. Once it go out of the plane, then in fourth one, resonance is there or inhibited. So we call resonance. Resonance is inhibited. Inhibited means what? Stopped, prevented, decreased, disappeared, etc. Hence, already I said you from first equation, resonance is inversely proportional to basicity. If resonance is inversely proportional to basicity, here resonance is decreasing in fourth one. That means among this all, the most important basic compound or the most order of basicity is fourth one must be the most basic of all. If fourth one is the most basic of all because resonance is absent, then who is the least basic of all? Least basic of all must be 3. Why? Highest minus I effect and resonance, 2 negative factors are there. Now left over is 1 and 2. Applying basics of chemistry, you are having plus I groups there. So slightly mildly more basic it will be because basicity will increase when plus I groups are there. Common sense you can see, when I say minus I effect is inversely proportional to basicity, then plus I effect is directly proportional to basicity. Hence, among these two you can say 2 is greater than 1. Now using this order, you can solve the problems. The basicity order is obviously first one goes directly wrong. B, the magnitude of pKb difference of 1 and 2 is more than that the difference of no, 3 and 4 is more high magnitude, you can see magnitude, hence this is also wrong. Resonance effect is more in 3 than 4, correct, this is correct, already we have discussed. See, once if you solve the problem, answer is not a great deal. Steric effect makes compound 4 more basic than 3, correct. So answer here becomes C and D. Right, now we will have a look into our next question. Question number 12 is very slightly tough question. Organic reactions are involved here. So here you can see saying compound number P undergoing some reactions, compound number P giving Q and with platinum hydrogen giving a compound. Now dear students, first step is find hints, then you solve. So to find hints, everybody can see here, when you are completely reducing it, you are getting this compound. When you are getting this compound, it is clearly saying that what type of skeleton P is having, because you are not doing any basic condition, acidic condition, rearrangement, nothing you are doing, simply addition of hydrogen you are doing. That means P is also having similar type of structure or similar type of carbon skeleton we can assume. Second, P is reacting with some X reagent and becoming optically active compound. And dear students, if you are clever enough, you can see in the option only one reagent is available, and you know this is nothing but called what catalyst? Tell me all of you, Lindlar catalyst. If your basics are good, or if you remember, its function is it prefers triple bond and converts into what? Double bond. It is a selective reagent. It converts triple bond into double bond. Okay, it prefers triple over double, right? So hence everybody can see. Now I don't know that answer is A, C, I don't know. Then what to do? First take option A and proceed. So now tell me, if I take option A, this is C triple bond, this is CH. So if I take option A here, that is this one, if I take and proceed, oh sorry, if I take option A and proceed, right, then tell me if I treat this with hydrogen in palladium, that is Lindlar catalyst, then what is going to happen? Yeah, your double bond is there, sorry, I missed it, right. Then what happened? Tell me, this will become CH, double bond CH, and this double bond is over here. What is the next step? Oxidizing with KMnO4. So whenever you oxidize with KMnO4, then what happened? The double bonds get cut. When the double bonds get cut, then this will become COOH, and this will become COOH, and this also becomes what? COH, carboxylic acid, right. So everybody can see with respect to this carbon, this is chiral in nature. Can you see? It is chiral in nature. RHS and LHS are different. Oh sorry, it is achiral in nature. Why? Because you can see this group and this group is identical in nature. Hence it has no chiral center. Obviously the answer must be what? The C option must be then the correct one. So let us now go for the next option, C. Option C we are taking. This is option A. So in option C you can see, if you take this triple bond and if you try to treat with hydrogen, palladium, Lindlar, right, CH double bond CH2, then treating with KMnO4. So KMnO4 cuts the double bonds and oxidizes it, correct? So hence now tell me what is going to happen. So this will become COOH, this will become COOH, and this is going to become COH. So everybody can see at this particular point, everybody can see you got a chiral carbon. Yes or no? Compare these two. These both the groups are same, here both the groups are different. Hence then answer must be compulsory what? C must be the compulsory answer and B must be the compulsory answer. Now proceeding further, that means we got an idea what is P. P idea came, this is P then, correct. Now taking P, remove the acidic proton, make the negative charge, nucleophilic addition on the acetophenone, hydrolysis and heat, that is elimination, you are going to get the corresponding compound. D also you are going to get. Is it clear? Therefore your answer will be B, C and D. Okay, right. So let us now move to our next question. So all of you can have a look here, very simple and clear from the graph. Okay, the details are given here that a weak base is titrated with strong acid. From here only we can understand that a buffer is formed somewhere in the midpoint of the reaction. That is very important. whenever buffer will form in the midpoint of the reaction, then we know that the salt and the base will be almost the concentration will be equal. That is very important hint point. Right. Now proceeding further, he is asking the variation of the pH of solution with volume HA added is shown in the figure below. What is the pKb of the base? The neutralization reaction is given by the equation. So here everybody can see the volume of the acid is available here, correct? So now everybody can see almost the line is going here vertical here. That means at volume 6 ml almost neutralization is occurring. So now if you assume at what pH, if you pick up here you can see here pH, at what pH you are considering? pH is equal to 11. Therefore pOH will be equal to how much? 3. And here almost at the midpoint you are going to get buffer is formed in the intermediate. Therefore we can say that pOH is equal to pKb plus log base 10 salt by base. Now all of you all know that the concentration of salt and the concentration of the base is almost equal. Hence the pKb of the solution will be equal to what? 3. Direct question, direct solution, simple, nothing is there in this. Right. So question number 14, you can see he is saying that liquids A and B form ideal solution for all compositions of A and B at 25 degrees centigrade. Two such solutions with 0.25 and 0.5 moles of A. You can see here he is discussing only about A. Can you see? Two different solutions of A. Mole fraction, he is not discussing about B. Let us see. Have a total vapor pressure of 0.3 and 0.4 bar respectively. What is the vapor pressure of pure liquid B in bar? Units are same, very easy question. This is one of the easiest question which came in your examination. So how could you solve this? How can you solve this problem? So you can solve this problem. So P total is equal to mole fraction of A and pressure of A pure solvent plus mole fraction of B and vapor pressure of the pure solvent, right? Now let us take two solutions he is saying. So let us speak about solution A. So if you speak about solution A, here if you speak about solution A, 0.25, that means P total. For first solution is how much? P total is how much? 0.3. And what is the mole fraction at that point? 0.25. 0.25 into vapor pressure of PA. This is PA naught plus what is then if the mole fraction of A is 0.25, if it is 0.25 here, just I am trying to make it 5, then how much is the mole fraction of B? 0.75 into vapor pressure of the B solution. This becomes equation number 1. Then second solution, if you take the total vapor pressure is what? 0.4 is equal to how much is mole fraction of A? 0.5. So it is 0.5 into PA plus, then B also will be 0.5 into the vapor pressure of PB. If you solve these two equations, then you will get directly the values of vapor pressure of PA you will get, and you also will get vapor pressure of PB directly you will get. Okay. So PB you are going to get what? 0.2 bar you are going to get. Okay. So now let us have a look into our next question. Now all of you let us have a look into next question, question number 15. The figure below is a plot of potential energy versus internuclear distance. Internuclear distance is nothing but, in other words, it is also called bond length. The molecule is in electronic ground state. What is the value of net potential energy? He is asking potential energy, and this plot is already available in our textbooks also, right? As a reference, the potential energy of hydrogen is taken as 0 when its electron and the, so here you can see he is speaking about hydrogen atom, but here the value is given for what? Hydrogen molecule. So taking these points into consideration, we already know that potential energy is equal to minus Z E square by R. Some books write same equation as what? Potential energy is equal to minus K Q1 Q2 by R. Both the meanings are one and the same. Now all of y'all, so we will find potential energy for one hydrogen atom. So one hydrogen atom, potential energy, how it is calculated for one hydrogen atom, how do you calculate? So potential energy, what is the value of K or Z? It is 9 into 10 to the power of 9. Let us take it all in SI units. What is the charge? Charge is how much? 1.6 into 10 to the power of minus 19 whole square by R. R means what? Radius of hydrogen atom. We already know radius of hydrogen atom is 0.5 we take in general, okay. Then here we can take as what? 0.529 we take, so we can take 0.53 we can take, round figure, into 10 to the power of minus 10, because this is in Armstrong units, no? Armstrong units, right. So on solving this, you are going to get potential energy of this, whatever value will come, it will come for one hydrogen atom. So I have, so whatever you will get for one hydrogen atom, then potential energy for two hydrogen atom is, imagine this value is x. So 2 into x for one hydrogen molecule you got, this you have to multiply by Avogadro number, that is 6.023 into 10 to the power of 23. If you solve, then the answer will come minus 52, because we have pre-calculated already, just I will try to say you, minus 5246.5 kilojoules units you are going to get. Is it clear? Okay, so next let us have a look into our next question. Consider the reaction sequence. This is I think this question already came in 2015 IIT Advanced, okay. Just have a look here, but something different is asking here now. So whatever see, concepts are same, only sometimes he will change in different manner and give you, that is all. Consider the reaction sequence from P to Q. The overall yield of the major product Q is very easy question, very easy question this is. What is the amount of grams of Q obtained from 9.3 ml of P? Density of P is taken as 1, okay, because we know that if density will change, mass and volume relationships are different. Molar mass of carbon, hydrogen and oxygen, okay, this is. So this is very easy question of organic chemistry. Tell me, what is this in organic chemistry? We know that aniline, if it react with HNO2, from where HNO2 came, when these two will combine, you are going to get what? Nitrous acid, and nitrous acids convert this into what? Tell me, diazonium salt. Got it? Diazonium salt formation will occur. Second step is saying that you are treating in basic medium with beta naphthol. So if you treat with beta naphthol, this is called beta naphthol. So when you are treating with beta naphthol, in beta naphthol the electron density is very high at this particular position. So aromatic electrophilic substitution reaction will occur, and you call this such reactions also as what reaction? Coupling reaction. Coupling reactions you call. Hence the final answer is what? This is N double bond N, and you are going to get this compound. This is nothing but, it is a very famous compound called azo red dye. The color by which I am explaining you, same color of that complex will come. Okay, equations are done. So this is P and this is Q. Now what is saying? Consider the reaction sequence from P to Q. The overall yield of the reaction is 75%. Means what? 100% product didn't came, 25% not reacted or left like that only. 75 only has come. Like you wrote an examination and you got 75 marks. That means what? 25 you have done wrong. Okay, like that. So now tell me all of you all, what is the molecular weight of this? Tell me what is the molecular weight of aniline? It is 93. What is the molecular weight of this? Molecular weight of this is given, not given, I have already calculated, just a moment. It is approximately it is approximately 248. right, because we will not waste time in addition and etc. So, everybody can see molecular weight is 93 for aniline, molecular weight of the complex is 248. Now, what he is saying that, so if molecular weight is 93, the number of moles of this is how much? Weight by gram molecular weight. That means, what is the weight of this, tell me? 9.3 by 93. This you are going to get what? 0.1 mole, correct? But he is saying that yield has come how much? 75 percentage. So, 75% means what? 75 you got out of 100. So, if you solve this, then obviously you are going to get some value, okay, and that value will be approximately, I have already done it, I have already solved it, 0.075, 0.075, directly also you can do, okay, 0.075 moles. That means only 0.075 moles have reacted, right. So, that means that same moles now you have to take this side now. So, here you can take number of moles of this by gram molecular weight. What is asking to you? Consider the overall yield of the what is the amount of Q in grams is asking. That means number of moles of this is nothing but equal to what? Weight by gram molecular weight. So, only the reaction is going 1:1, hence number of moles of this must be equal to number of moles of that one. Hence, if you put the gram molecular weight of this and moles, automatically you get the weight of the compound. Okay. So, the weight of the compound is approximately, after calculation, 18.6 is coming. The weight is coming approximately 18.60 grams it is coming. Okay. So, our next question is very easy and very simple. Tin is obtained, slightly metallurgy and slightly thermochemistry has mixed and gave you. So, tin is obtained from cassiterite, cassiterite oxide ore of tin by reduction with coke. Using the data given below, determine the minimum temperature. The minimum temperature at which reduction of cassiterite by coke would take place. Are you following? Oh, sorry, would take place. That means what? In other words, he is asking delta G naught is how much? Negative, or in other words, delta G naught must be equal to what? 0, equilibrium. Are you following? That means if delta G naught, if you keep 0, just below that it will become negative and the reaction would occur. Minimum is asking to you. Then how to solve this? Tell me how to occur. So, we know that delta G naught is equal to delta H naught minus T delta S naught. Now, we have to find delta H naught from the given data. Here you can see the energies of products minus reactants, and delta H naught, here you can see this is products, are you following, minus reactants. Very easy to see. These two are combining and giving you this two. Once you get it and keep in this place here 0 and in this place you keep the values, then obviously what will come out? The minimum temperature you are going to get. So, let us solve. First delta H naught we will find. So, how to find delta H naught? So, delta H naught is equal to products minus reactants. So, it is minus 394 minus 581, correct. So, this value I have calculated, it is coming 187 kilojoule per mole. You see, one interesting thing is there here. In the data he gave here kilojoule, but entropy gave in joule. So, convert both in same unit. So, let us write this 187,000 joule per mole. So, we got delta H naught value. Now, delta S naught value we have to get. Same story, products minus reactants. So, 52 plus 210 minus 56 plus 6. So, it will become how much? 52 plus 210 minus 56 plus 6, and this on solving you are going to get what? 210, 200 joules, joule per mole. Now, put these two values here, keeping this 0 and keeping delta H value 187,000, keeping this value 200, T value you are going to get. T value already I have calculated, the value is 935 Kelvin, because we can't invest time in calculation yet. Okay. So, let us see our next question. An acidified solution of 0.05 molar zinc plus 2 is saturated with 0.1 molar H2S. What is the minimum molar concentration of H plus required to prevent precipitation? This is very important point. Using KSP of zinc he gave you. Now, you only tell me, you better know, to prevent precipitation, what is the meaning of it? We know that the ionic product must be less than solubility product, correct or not? Then the precipitation will prevent or stop, right. So, then what you have to do? So, here you can take the concentration of zinc plus 2 ions into the sulfide ions. How much he gave? Tell me, KSP value 1.25 into 10 to the power of 22. It is 1.25, but on the screen it is showing 122. Okay, right. This is equation number 1. Then he is saying that the overall dissociation constant of H2S is this value. Now, everybody know that how does H2S dissociate? So, everybody should know that H2S will ionize into 2H plus sulfide ion. And how do you write K net? K net is equal to concentration of H plus ion into sulfide ion by concentration of H2S ion. This is equation number 2. Now, already you can see you are having the concentration of zinc ion where it is 0.05 molar. So, therefore, the next step you can do, concentration of zinc is what? 0.05 into concentration of S minus 2 is equal to 1.25 into 10 to the power of 22. So, from this you are going to get concentration of zinc, sulfide, I am very sorry, sulfide. That value you keep here, this is square, sorry, this is square here, right. Hence, you are going to get what? Concentration of H plus ion will automatically come out. So, concentration of H plus, if you solve this, you are going to get what? 0.2 molar you are going to get. Once you get concentration, everybody know how to find pH of this, okay. Okay. So, with this we have completed our paper discussion, and I wish all the students a very happy results and the best results. I pray that you get best results in our coming up advanced examination. In this hard time, you all are working hard at your home. So, hope some beautiful results will come out and good fruits will come out of it. Okay, all of you have a nice day, take care, bye, and best wishes from our Sri Chaitanya College and from my side Dr. Sheikh Sarfaraz. Take care, bye all of you all.